Yeah, so I think the answer to that question is there is not one way, one unique way, but I think there are principles that always have to be in place. So the principles always have to be there. What are the principles? When we talk about, as economists, about economic freedom, we're actually talking about something that we empirically measure. So we're looking at the rule of law. We're looking at the protection of property rights. We're looking at the size of the state. People free to open businesses, to engage in trade, to trade internationally? And we go in and we measure that. That kind of data that we can acquire, there's a lot of ways to get to that. So if you look at, let me just give a concrete example. It took the United States 150 years to experience their industrial revolution. That's a long time. We had to have electricity before we had, cell phones, and we had to invent all these things from scratch. Japan, this is a country that goes through their industrial revolution in 20 years. The countries that have not yet experienced an industrial revolution that Hans Rosling talks about so well, they will experience their industrial revolution in 2 decades, maybe less. So there's not one way. It doesn't take everybody 150 years. Here's another example. What we're seeing in the developing world is people are living in mud huts, and when they get a little bit of an income increase, they get a cell phone. It's very weird for us to look at that and say, you live in a mud hut, but you have a cell phone. Because why? It took us a long time to do it. We had the house, right? We had the brick and mortar, but way before we had the cell phone. So it's not going to look the same, but the principles in play are always the same. You have to have economic freedom. Economic freedom gets better political freedom and better political behavior, right? And that is a self-reinforcing thing, potentially for even more economic freedom. And you have to have religious freedom, which is not, a theocracy that's imposed by the state on the people. So I think the principles are always there, but the way it's manifested can be very different.